surprises there. But it all starts with the filling. Basically, choose whatever sausage meat you like. I've just got a sausage meat that I like. I've got a pork sausage. I've got a little bit of thyme in there as well. If you just pop that in there with that and just rip a bit of thyme off, mix it up for us, that'd be grand. Okay. So to move on, I'm going to make a proper puff pastry. Into a bowl of 50-50 plain and strong flour, I add 2 eggs, salt and some water to bring it all together. Puff pastry has a reputation for being difficult, but it's not at all. You just need to know what you're doing, so listen up. Puff pastry is all about the difference between cold and hot. Now, if you can get your dough as cold as possible, as quickly as possible, then you'll end up with something that will, when you put it in the oven, it will just go oof, and it'll just explode in an oven.
Okay. And does that make it crispier?
The crispiness comes from the temperature and the butter. A good quality butter is key with a good puff pastry. I mean, I tend to use Normandy butter, some French butter.
Yeah.
Slightly higher melting temperature, it means you can manipulate it more in the dough. And therefore, if you get a cheap butter, you'll tend to find that in the dough itself, it will just melt out the side as you're laminating it, as you're beginning to fold it, and that is a bad sign.
Has the Normandy one got more oil content in it? Is that why it makes
the keratin levels you've got to be careful of as well. You know those brightly coloured ones?
Yeah.
You want something a little bit toned down.
Yeah.
And they're the ones generally that are better to use. After a few minutes working the dough, wrap it and chill it in the fridge, preferably for 2 hours. I've got one which I have chilled, and I've also got some butter, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with that in a minute. Now, roll out your chilled pastry in a thin rectangular shape, big enough to accommodate the butter for the all-important turning process. You need to have rolled out your butter between 2 sheets of greaseproof paper, so it's thin enough to fold inside the dough. Get your butter, pop it on your dough. Take it all the way down to the corners, and then with this bit here, that's perfect. With this bit here that's exposed, a third of it, you fold over, and then this bit goes onto the top, a bit like you do with a croissant dough.
Okay.
You need to pinch that down now and seal it in. Seal the butter in. That's a lovely cold dough. The butter's beginning to soften already. So as soon as it hits that butter, that dough, that nice cold dough, it begins to solidify. That's a good thing. Once the butter is sealed in the dough, you can then roll it and fold it a second time to double the number of layers. Each fold is called a turn, and the more turns your dough has, the more flaky your pastry will be. And this is what we call a single turn. Over the top, flatten it down, then the exposed bit over the top of that. Seal it in again. That's had a single turn, so it's had the butter put in and it's had a single turn. It needs at least another 4 of those. In between each one, you chill it down, and you chill it down to get that butter nice to being hard again.
As a young apprentice in the kitchen or pastry chef, would leave a little message, you know, turn the puff.
Yeah.
And then you'd go, well, which way have I got to turn it? But you'd know, because you used to make a little mark.
That's
into
right.
the pastry on how many times or what side to turn.
That's right. That's just had 1 turn, so 1 knuckle in, that'll go in the fridge. So you wrap that up, tuck it under, and then pop that in the fridge. Now, because it's had 1 turn, I know. So next time you go, if you forget, you've always got the turn. Now, I know this one is good to go. The turning process doesn't take long. Most of the day, your pastry will be chilling in the fridge. If you're in a professional kitchen, you'd probably see that. 4 turns. You'd probably have 4 notches sitting in it. I want to turn this 1 more time. You can see how yellow it's gone from the other one. And the difference being, because the layers have got so thin, the butters begin to show through the dough because it's that thin. That means it's nearly ready to use. Now I'm going to roll this out. Nice and gently. Start from the middle again. Come back down.
A lot of people as well are a little bit scared of making puff pastry, but if you've got the time,
yeah,
and you plan it nice, it's worth doing.
It is worth it. So what I need to do is roll this out as quickly as possible before it gets too warm. Now let's look at this. You see this there? If you can see that area there, it looks like marble. In fact, it looks like marble all over the place. It's an indicator that the butter's got to such a level when it's nice and chilled, it splits with the butter, and it's a good sign of a puff pastry. Indeed, it's a good sign for any laminated dough, including a croissant and a Danish pastry. A laminated dough is a baking term for the process of alternating layers of dough and butter. So now I'm happy with that. So what I've got is my pastry ready to rock and roll. Get stuck in. Next, take your sausage mixture and spread it out all the way along your pastry. Sausage meat all the way along. Adding pickle or caramelised onions gives my sausage roll an extra flavoured dimension and a little tang that works brilliantly with the herby sausage meat and buttery pastry. And then roll it up.
It's a serious sausage roll, that is.
That's a proper sausage roller. Oh, I want some big jumbo, so I'm going to trim off the end first, make sure it's nice and straight. Mark out where you want to cut, and then slice into good-sized portions. Once cut, put the rolls on a baking tray lined with baking parchment, and brush them thoroughly with a rich egg wash. Give it that rich yellow colour. Then put them back in the fridge to chill for 30 minutes. When it comes out of the fridge, you double egg wash, you egg wash the whole thing again. Then with the back of the blade, just run your knife from the top over to the other side. And what that does is create a lovely pattern on top of the sausage rolls. And you do this on all of them. Then you bake it off at 200 degrees Celsius for about 15 to 20 minutes to the beautiful and golden brown. Now, the secret is with the egg wash, don't let the colour kid you. You think it's going dark, stick with it. It'll flake up and it'll be absolutely beautiful. It'll be a little bit tight inside because it's constricted, but you'll end up with a gorgeous tasting puff pastry. And let me show you this. Those there are proper sausage rolls. You can see the way they're split, the way they've been cut. Beautiful colours, filled with the sausage meat of your own desire. And there you have it. Sausage rolls. Make your sausage rolls any size you want, but don't expect them to last very long. They